Beals here with no nonsense, cause you can't make sense if you don't make sense. A pod with freestyle discussion, poetry and social deconstruction.
Okay, podcasters, this is Big Burn with my co-host.
Beal.
That's right. It is November 10th, 2014, episode 17. I'm going to go ahead and start you off with a poem, as do I normally use. A foreign invader has entered my body against my will. My neurological wiring is discombobulated and I can't stay still. I've lost my sense of agency in one of my favorite limbs, like I'm subject to the whims of a gamer playing The Sims. My hand smacks my face and masturbates without my permission. Please, Doc, give it to me straight. Don't sugarcoat it. What's my condition? Well, son, you have what we call an alien hand syndrome, which means your hand acts independently on its own. Depressed, I'm feeling like a puppet on a string. Should I just buy a shotgun and blow off this blasted thing? Hope you enjoyed that piece. Now, Beals, I want to discuss alien hand syndrome today. It's such a bizarre disease that I believe there are many topics we can discuss. But we'll start with the idea of an individual falling victim to this rare neurological disorder and thereby partially losing their autonomy. What implications do you think this has in the determinism versus free will debate?
I think it proves, therefore, that there is no such thing as free will, because if the hand could be at some point separated, as we can see in the neurological, if we take a really neurological standpoint, and this is from the book On Brains and Other Things by John S. Frying-Sandon, that we see that the hippocampus and the oblongata are not connected with an axon. They're connected with a turnpipe. And they also have a little bit of extra copper wire in there, which kind of heightens it together. Now, when you have the cerebral cortex connected to the corpus callosum, the neurotransmitter dopamine does not get transferred very accurately and more pervasively, and the action potential loses a lot of the calcium inside of it, and that would also would prove that the arm would have its own independent thinking, because inside of the hippocampus is another smaller brain, kind of like a nucleolus inside the nucleus, and that then would control the arm. So that would take the idea of free will out, because there's another brain inside the hippocampus.
Oh. Now, you mentioned corporate coliseum. Does that have anything to do with corporate malfeasance?
It has a lot to do with the corporate world today, and the way that the economy is run, based on a fiat monetary based system that does not include more of callosum or calcium.
Oh, I see. I mean, one could argue that a business is kind of like a brain.
Well, I would definitely say that businesses are brains indeed. In fact, if it does say I've seen on the History Channel, so
History Channel is a 100% fact.
It's a very credible source, and I saw there where it was kind of comparing the United States, the growth of the United States business and brain all together, and it does turn out that in order for a business to run, there has to be someone there that actually has a functioning brain.
I thought for a while you didn't need that. Now, if you had alien hand syndrome and it was masturbating against your own will in a public place, would you think that's fun? Or the novelty wear off for you? I mean, me personally, if I had uncontrollable hand, I'd be like, holy shit, get me down to Credit Auto Sales and then I'll buy anything I want, because I can use that hand to print off receipts at an alarming rate. And I mean, I might think it's beneficial. I mean, I might be scared about it at first.
Right.
You know, my hand's doing things that I can't control, and it's like, what's going on? Why is there more white paint in the world than brown paint? But I mean, we come back to where we started there, Bill.
Yeah, I do think that the fact that the lack of copper inside the brain would be the major deterrent for having your hand be an alien. And so when you have the alien hand, I think you really need to be able to utilize it, because you can forcefully choose what you want to do with it. by not doing anything. And when you don't do it, the hand itself doesn't have the chance to progress further. More as you've seen in a lot of athletes that have the syndrome, that their hand is actually the star, and it's not the athlete themselves.
Right.
You can see it in Kyle Bryant. You can see it in Tim Brady. It's all these famous stars. They have the hand syndrome, and it's the hand that people are talking about. It's always the hand. It's never been the person.
I'm getting a question for the panel right now. So poses a good question. If you made $100 million in a business venture,
Which I do in this podcast.
but you didn't do it. It was all the work of your hand.
Right.
But you are receiving the benefits of this business venture. Do you deserve those benefits, or do you have obligated to give all those benefits to your alien syndrome hand?
Yeah, I have to go back to the copper in the brain, and I have to say that that's the answer.
So more copper means more bills on top of duck bills.
If they're Duck Dynasty bills, then the bills do come in, but if they're Bill Clinton bills, those bills get lost in translation.
Oh my God. Huh. We need to hit up that Bill Murray movie to educate ourselves, don't we? I must say, I feel pretty enlightened about the alien hand syndrome today. In fact, I would imagine that by listening to this pod, it would be more informative than if you read the wiki yourself.
I would say that this is based on more facts than Wiki, because Wiki is written by people that don't actually know what we're talking about, and we are certified doctors.
Yeah, and we spew nothing forth but no nonsense.
Absolutely, sir.
Oh, now we're reaching the end today. Bill or Beals, would you please leave us with the concluding thoughts in the form of a poem, please?
No problem at all. Sitting on this beach of beautiful sand, I know it was created by God's hand, but did you know that He actually doesn't use His own hand? It's somebody else's hand. It's not really His. It's another God who's bigger than Him. He makes everything, even sod. So if you're out there thinking there's only one dude, you should realize that you're actually pretty rude, because there's a bigger God who's controlling that other God's appendage, and He is the one that you should pray to more often.
Okay, very nice poem there in the pod, and just a few podcast notes here. We will hopefully be having some guests in the near future. A certain world-class impersonator of a certain Dean F. And then also potentially a couple other notable guests in the pod. We can't release their identities just yet. We want to leave you in suspense, but we're hoping to be able to finance these very expensive guests on the pod, and we're very excited about it. How excited are you about this, Beals?
This is the first time I've ever heard of that, and I find it very exciting to know that we'll have other guests, named guests, on the show. And all we need are particularly large donations from our audience. If you don't mind, we'll settle for the little least of 100,000, and you can send that via email. You can send that via text message, however you want, and we'll definitely graciously accept it.
Now, just to give you an idea of the magnitude of how important these guests are, we turned down Christopher Nolan, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Stanley Kubrick's dead corpse for the podcast in order for these guests to be on the show. So it's going to be very lively on that pod. Once again, this is Big Burn Beals signing off.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Hope you got some insight and a few laughs. That's all for now, folks. Yes, goodbye. Till next time, as long as we don't die.